Hi there, traders, and welcome to Trade the Structure and the morning recap from the US session. Just going into the Asian session now, so we'll have a look at what happened overnight on the markets. And it looks like there was a bit of a end of month, so it was last day of the trading month. Sorry, last day of trading for the month, and that was last night in the US. So you saw a lot of shenanigans go on last night. They liked a bit of window dressing by a lot of these funds. Look better than what it actually is. So bit of buying into, you can see that on the S&P, the Dow, the Nasdaq. Nasdaq was up over 3% again. Dow, rocketed higher, and actually S&P dragged its feet a little bit by the looks of it, but still a bit of end of month, like I said, shenanigans, which happens a lot, especially after you're being a big sell-off. Anyway, we'll have a look at the overall market. So we'll start off with the ASX. ASX yesterday didn't really do too much. It was more sort of just hovering around those lows. You can see it was just sort of playing around these lows from previously, somewhere into about 6,900. So it flushed that level. It's holding there, which is not too bad. So if it can actually consolidate just above that level, above 6,900, and then I would expect another push higher through this level at 70.40 or so. Okay, and that's the anchor to the downtrend. You can see, it's quite prominent. You've got a lower high here, press down, lower high. Really shallow retracements in a sell-off. Decent enough retracement there, but big spike lower, and this retracement here has been a lot better than previously. Okay, so we consolidate here. The longer you consolidate sideways, it sort of means that there's going to be a lot of sellers that are going to have to start thinking about, if you've got a longer term short position, potentially getting squeezed out. Okay, so they'll be looking at booking profits, and then you'll look at bargain hunters start to dive in. But we'll see how that goes. Being the end of month, it could be a different story in the US tonight. There might be, some more waiver selling coming in. So we'll look at those levels now. S&P, big S&P, so it's up at a level here at 45.27. Now, we were looking at that yesterday. You can see, looking at sort of testing into that level. And I think being the end of the month and the start of a new month, it'd be interesting to see what happens, whether we have a bit of a flush high just to trap a few longs, because if people will be watching this level of breaks, they'll go long and then we turn around and squeeze them out, or whether it's going to do two things really. You want to see it either pop through, hold, and then go, and really take out and pressure up the new highs. Then you would expect a deeper move higher. Otherwise, if we start to fail off that level and we get a lower high, then we're looking to attack back into these lows. Okay, so that was a decent sell-off, a decent corrective move. And if you actually measure, I call them volatility projections, measure that, take that from the low. Okay, it's taking you into the high. So that's your two moves. Always looking at two moves in the market, especially after a big sell-off, big sharp move. And it's the same on the upside, big sharp move up. The pullbacks usually come in two stages, just to clear out a few more buyers, or in this case, a few more sellers, clear them out, see if we can hold this level and then roll over. That's all just a guess. You're looking at short-term momentum starting to peak, and it's peaking out in a good level. So there's a bit of confluence there. Longer-term momentum, yeah, it's rising from negative territory, but they can easily sort of hold this zero line, like rise here, hold, and go back down again. So it's kind of, for me, it's a bit primed. I'll be a bit careful about watching what happens. I wouldn't be just selling into this level straight off the level without any confirmation. I'll either wait for, like I said, push up, higher, low to build, and then go long, or reaction down off that level, look for your lower high and see how you go. Okay, Dow, similar type of scenario. Had your two legs up, flushed out a few, been end of month. MACDs are in the same sort of scenario, but it's just at a different level. It looks like it's coming into this zone through here. We'll just see if that's kind of an area where it's going to find some confluence. You get a bit of a selling into that level, but I'm still looking for that lower high. Same attack. Nasdaq, has bounced back quite hard. That's probably a deeper retracement. If you're talking about volatility again, that move up there, I think this is a bigger move. It's potentially targeting up to this zone, back in the 15, 140, 150, which it could easily do tonight and then fail into the close. So it could easily spike in that level and fail. We just have to wait and see. Like I said, I think there's a lot of this rally being attributed to the end of month, the 31st, shenanigans, like I was saying before. So I'd like to see what happens. Maybe not just this session, coming session tonight, maybe the next couple of sessions, may spike, hover around here, and then roll over. We don't know. We just have to wait and see. But the rate rises are still a key thing, and inflation's is not easing anytime soon. And it's caught a lot of central banks off guard, because even with RBA, the Royal Bank of Australia, Reserve Bank of Australia, sorry, is out today at 2:30, so it's out in a few hours. But they're going to talk up inflation. They were caught out with inflation's a lot harder than they expected, and they're bringing forward their anticipation of rate rises. They're saying still 2023, but the market's telling them mid this year or August this year. So it's only the RBA that's sort of dragging the chain a bit. They're very reluctant to be raising rates, especially with the kind of housing market they've got in Australia. Start raising rates too hard, and if inflation sticks around for too long, then they're going to have to do that, and that's going to pressure. You would really expect pressure the housing market and new buyers. So we'll see how that goes. DAX, you can see it was held by this level at 15,543. Yeah, it did. Like I was saying yesterday, it was going to gap up. It was going to play catch up to the US. It did straight into that zone and then failed straight off that zone. And then have we got a potential lower high in place? So it'll be interesting to see how that opens tonight. I think, yeah, they know the market was up. The market was strong in the US into the close, but it was already, bouncing back by then. If you look at the Dow, it was on, a one-way move up most of the session there. Where's the start of that session? About here, wasn't it? So it was pretty much a one-way move up. So whether the DAX is going to play, it may test back into this zone, but I wouldn't expect that to break ahead of the US action tonight. But still, from here, you can say that's a higher low and it's going to press up through this level. You can say that's a lower high forming. But for now, all we're looking at is momentum. If it's starting at longer term momentum, starting to ease back towards that zero line, and we can see momentum coming off, it's not getting it run on. I'll be biased down on this and I'll just be very tentative. UK, that was pretty much break even for the session. They spiked up in the open and then floundered and did nothing. Okay. We'll see where the open was. It was somewhere, there we go. So it spiked up in the open, pulled back, and then just sort of floundered into the close. So it's interesting to see whether this does roll over as well. All right, so excuse me, goes to the dollar index. So we were talking about this yesterday. Very interesting to see. We were talking about this as potential being a bit heavy, okay, and finding some sellers, and sure enough, it did. So just, any market that's had a good clean run higher, you really would expect some sort of squeeze on the buyers. And the same on the downside. Anyone that's had a good clean move down with really little pullbacks and really shallow pullbacks, you would expect that it's going to come a time where shorts want to lock in some gains, or in this case, longs want to lock in some gains. Okay, and that's what you've got. You've got this. It pressed through here, popped up pretty much like what we said, and then headed south. But it's actually gone a bit further than I thought. I thought it might find a bit of a base in here, but we'll have to see how that plays out today. Whether it can actually find some sort of common ground in here from between bulls and bears, or whether it's going to roll over. I wouldn't expect, and I think that's more of that safe haven. There's a bit of a safe haven bid into the US dollar. That bit of a safe haven bid as you got end of month. The indices are just rallying hard, but we'll wait and see. I still think it's going to be more and more related to rate rise in the US than anything else. Now that the month's over, Euro, your currencies obviously from that fall over in the US dollar have got a bit of a bounce, and we were speaking about that yesterday. If this can hold this level through here on the euro, potentially a higher low, which it did exactly that. Expect a rally. Didn't expect it that hard. Obviously, it's gone a lot harder than we thought because of the US dollar move, but still, a rally is a rally. So if you could have taken advantage of that, that would have been really nice. You can see it's basically the MAs. I've got the 10 and the 20, the EMAs. 10's above the 20 here. A deep correction, but that's just a big flush in my book. Big flush lower right at the start, coming to the start of the US session as Europe was sort of rolling over a bit, and then bang, up we go. Pound, a bit more controlled, same sort of action. It is pressing higher. It's back into this area here at 134.40. I'm not sure what they're talking up with regards to interest rate rises, but the pound was more focused on local interest rate rises anyway. So that's probably keeping a lid on things as opposed to Europe, where they're not talking up that and they're happy just to let it go. Not in such a situation as the US with regards to inflation. So that's why you can see that can really kick on a lot harder than what the pound has. So that's, heading higher. This is the zone. Whether this is a big flush, I'll be looking for a lower high into that. If we come back down to this below this level, potentially, something like this, and we get this lower high come into play, then we've got enough to flush out. We could get extended on the downside. And then you probably find that if the US dollar does have a bit of a bounce in Europe and into the US session, then that's going to happen there. We're going to get that selling opportunity. If not, it's going to be a bit of a grind higher. I'm not too happy about taking moves that, going long and something like that, but it's been a bit of a grind anyway. It could be something like this, same sort of scenario, then bang, get knocked down. This could be another lower high on a major scale, okay? So just be wary of that. Be more inclined to be short on the pound anyway. Aussie, had a good move back up. Bit of a squeeze ahead of the RBA, which is at 230. I wouldn't be worried about that today. ahead of that RBA meeting, because they could come out and say, yeah, we were wrong about inflation. There's going to be interest rate rises, and then boom, you just rally up, or they might stick to their guns and say we don't expect anything till 2023. And then anyone that's been sort of buying it in anticipation that they are wrong, buying it up, they have to turn around and they get squeezed back out again. US yen, I'll be looking for potentially, if this level can hold in here, can hold off that there, retest, we get a failure, then I'll be looking for shorts off that. Okay, we just have to wait and see if this can hold. I'll be looking to the lower time frames, especially a 5 minute when we come into that session there. Maybe a bit more of a flush. Either way, this doesn't look too bad. Flush at this level, bit of a bounce back, and it's paused. So we just have to wait and see if that can roll from here. Gold, keeping people on edge a bit. We've got support, and I've got a messy chart at the moment. Sorry about that. Let's get rid of some of these lines. I was looking for a deeper pullback, as we were mentioning yesterday, looking for a higher low to press back above the level. It didn't get quite that deep at all, but it's down towards a daily. What I was saying yesterday, this rising support is a daily level, and that's contraction, because it's got some lower highs in the daily as well. So every time it's getting up towards this, this resistance line, it's finding sellers, and it found some buyers, into that level. Or, it was clear that it was just a bit of a squeeze. It was a really shallow move down, bit of a squeeze through 1790, and we get that bounce at the moment. So I'm still looking to see if we can get a retest of that level and then rally, and see if we can work along off that. Otherwise, if we don't get through that, 1800, which is just through here, it might be just a bit of a squeeze down. We may get a grind up, but I'm expecting more. I want to see a good move down and then a good higher low form for a long. Otherwise, it's going to be a short-term scalp on the downside for me. Not expecting that we're going to get smashed on gold. Crude oil. Oil is just below a daily, big daily resistance zone. Okay, bit of a sell zone, but an offer zone we call it. The good thing is you can see as momentum's coming off, especially on the longer term chart, it's coming off. Price is going sideways. Okay, so you've got to take note of that. When it's got a good move up, it can go sideways, which means there's continued buyer support. They're not really willing to break it higher yet. The market's not willing to break higher, but it is consolidating sideways. So if this longer term momentum starts to pick up, then you would expect another leg up and probably take us to that 90, 91 area. Not really great for petrol prices, especially in Australia. They just keep ticking higher. Oil's up, they tick higher, oil goes down, doesn't move. They love adding to their profits. But anyway, that's crude sideways. See if that can kick up. That's what I'll be looking for. Is want to see a pullback, see if that's supported at a higher level above 86 and a half. If we can support at a higher level, then I'll be looking to buy into a rally. Okay. Copper's just, that was that move down. I think it was on Friday, and then just chopped around sideways since. So still looking for that kind of action. Nothing much has changed for me. As we were saying yesterday, chopping around this level, 430, 431. This support zone here, it can flush, it's bouncing back. So the more it flushes and bounces back, the more that you're going to find it's going to be more bargain hunters starting to step in, see if they can hold a higher low. But for now, at early stages, we just have to wait and see. Longer term is just starting to roll up. Bonds, US bonds, you've got some resistance that's holding in. Again, probably end of month moves in the bond market. You've got these sellers in here just locking it in. But yeah, that's more interest rate dependent. Now, interest rate, like we said many times, inflation's high. They're looking at interest rate rises. So don't expect these short term. I wouldn't expect a big, rally back up to here at all. So just keep an eye on them. I don't really trade them. I just keep an eye on for, the bond market's obviously leading the stock market. So if that starts to take a turn for the worse and head south a lot harder, expect to come more pressure. It means more rate rises they're anticipating, or they're factoring in a lot more rate rises than what they are now. If it goes down, that means yields are going up, okay, and that means more pressure into the stock market. But for now, that's capped there. Could get a bit of a grind back up, but we'll see. The 10 years have got some resistance through here at 128.01 or 128 even. They've worked their way back up. That could easily start to hold a lower high. So if you want to trade any of the bonds, I'll be looking at maybe the 10s, the futures market in there. See if they can drop with a lower high. And watch out for these flushes. Say something like this would be a lower high in my book. MACD's rolling. MACD's are not rolling at the moment here. It needs to do some work if it's going to be a sell. Okay, but for now, I don't expect them to get out of hand on the upside too. There's been a lot of selling pressure up here. We bounce back to that zone. Just have to wait and see, maybe a flush and then drop. Okay, the 30 years, not too concerned about that either. But anyway, thanks very much for joining me, guys. That's it for the morning recap. We'll be back on again tomorrow. Like I said, if you do like what you hear, it'd be great if you can leave us a like or leave us a follow. And feel free to jump onto the website to take a look around. We've got a lot of different information on that, a lot of free stuff as well. So jump on there. It's www.tradethestructure.com. All right, guys, we'll speak to you soon. Bye.